All right, we have Ross Chastain, NASCAR star here, and we are going to talk about the Clash at the Coliseum coming up this weekend. A big deal coming up on Sunday. Ross, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man.
This is really cool, and I don't know what to call you. I see on social media we have the boss and we have the hoss. We even have Melon Man. What do you want
Yes.
me to call you?
Yeah, I'd probably go more with like something watermelon themed. So Melon Man. Melon Man's good.
Nice, nice. And obviously, I know your background growing up. Watermelon was part of your life.
Yeah.
Real quick, what is the secret to the best watermelon?
Oh man. Buy three, and then you're liable to get a good one. I mean,
Nice.
that's just math, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not telling any state secrets there. No, so there really is some things that we look for. Is they should be heavy for their size. They're 92% water. The stripes should be symmetrical. One end shouldn't be more cone shaped or anything. It should be kind of symmetrical melon. And then the
Nice.
bottom, when you spin it over, should be yellow, not white.
Mm,
So when you look, lift, and turn, you got a heavy, symmetrical, yellow bottomed watermelon.
gotcha. I'll have
That's
to.
all I go for. I can't thump. I try thumping, I try patting, I try knocking, I try flicking. All the thumping methods I can't do.
Yeah, I'll be at the
Nothing.
store and I'll pretend like I know what I'm doing, but really, it's just a guess.
Well,
But
no one ever wants a watermelon on top because you feel like someone else should have grabbed that. So everybody digs. Everybody digs down and grabs one from lower. I think that's just human nature.
yeah. So Sunday's race, I think it's so awesome to watch from a fan's perspective. Just it's kind of like looking at the 405, but actually trying to make it a race. What's the mindset for you as someone who's in the race when you're actually, competing at the Coliseum?
Yeah, so last year, 2022, was our first time ever doing this. This is our 75th anniversary of NASCAR, and we've really never raced in a city like this. We never came to the people and to their backyard, their side yard, their front yard, and raced in a venue that's surrounded by homes, apartment buildings, and office buildings. And it's different. It's hard to find a place to park, right? Our merch haulers take up space. We're trying to wedge them into the city here, and something as simple as that gives it a totally different vibe. And in the thought for me, coming out of last year, was that we're coming to a neighborhood. I got to go around and see some of the local schools and see kids. They've never seen a race. Ask them, raise your hand if you've ever been to a NASCAR race. Two kids raised their hand last year. Last night, I was with another group of kids. One kid raised his hand, and we're showing a whole new generation and a whole new fan base that could be fans if they like it, our sport, and why we're so passionate about driving cars in a circle. Because until you experience it in person, I don't think you can really appreciate what we're doing. And the Coliseum, the vibe, and the just the atmosphere of being in the stadium with that bowl feeling and the skyline in the background, on a quarter mile, the smallest track we've raced on in a really long time. It's half the size of our next shortest track,
Sheesh.
so it's hard to race on, but that's what makes it exciting.
Right. And you bring up a great point because, personally watching it on TV is so much different than actually seeing it in person, feeling the vibrations of being in the seat like that. And it's so cool to just watch all the cars, especially, at the Clash at the Coliseum when they're so close together. Is that something where, you know, it's a really cool race, but at the same time, do you have to have more of a, concern as to being close to the other cars? Like, how much is that different than what you're usually expecting?
It is different. Last year, we've only done this once, like I said, so I didn't even actually make the main event last year. We were not fast enough. We did not qualify into the main event, so that was a very humbling experience. So I was flying home while they were racing.
Hmm.
It's not something I like. I'm not a good loser, so I didn't stick around and watch it. I took off. So the goal this year is to race in it. But we were in the heat races and in the last chance qualifier, and from what I experienced there, there's it's still just a race. So we place our cars, and we're all finding over the course of the weekend the best line to run. We have rumble strips down the bottom, some paint, with our NASCAR colors, and then fresh asphalt. So normally we're racing on tracks that are very seasoned in. Race cars have been running on them for thousands of laps. This one has 0 laps on it right now with a race car. So it just got done a few weeks ago. The asphalt, the oils in it, the way our tires interact with it, right? I mean, think about it. We're not just driving down the freeway. We are exploiting and pushing these cars to the very limit and then trying not to crash. And if we do crash, just try not to hit anything. and you still have a chance to win. So experiencing asphalt and pavement that's new is something that NASCAR drivers and race drivers don't normally get to experience. We're going to experience that tomorrow whenever we pull on track for the first practice.
Awesome. Now, you've also made news. You went viral for the Hail Melon, that everyone's calling it, the move that you pulled last year. But NASCAR just came out and said you can't do it anymore. Now, it's kind of probably got to be an interesting feeling for you because, one, it was awesome and everyone was talking about it. But two, it's like you can't do it anymore. So, what was your take on NASCAR banning that?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm proud that I've got a rule named after me, right? I mean, what they didn't actually write a new rule. They're just going to enforce a current rule that's just says be safe. Don't hit the wall and be unsafe. So um, I take it as a badge of honor that I want my crew chief and my engineers and my mechanics pushing the limits of the car. I don't want to break the rules, but I want them to. I want them to have to write new rules and explain things more clearly where we might find a gray area on the car. And then on the track, I want to do the same thing. That's actually the second time last year that we've had a rule made about us. Earlier in the year at Indianapolis, I took a access road that was allowed, but you shouldn't have been able to make up time on the leader, and I did, and I almost won the race doing it. And so they said no to that, and they're going to rewrite how that access road and how the whole shape of it is. So I'm proud that I was able to exploit that. And then a split second decision to ride the wall at Martinsville. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to see guys doing it, and I'm proud that now I'll be the first and last guy to successfully do it.
Yeah, you're in the history books forever. You left your mark
That's
on,
right.
on NASCAR, so that's really cool.
Yep.
Um, Going off the road or off of competing on the highway, regular road, what kind of driver are you? Have you gotten speeding tickets, or are you a good law-abiding citizen?
Yeah, look, in my younger days, I got a ticket or two, and I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I'm better than anybody that's ever got. Right, I've gotten speeding tickets, but um, I'm 30 now, and over probably it happened sooner than most people. I became the guy in the way. Like I'm not the fast driver anymore. Like I I could drive aggressive and I could use my skills that I've learned on racetracks since I was 12 years old to drive really aggressively. But on the highway, I am defensively driving. I'm looking out for debris on the road, and like it's just like I just like take it easy. I drive a pickup truck. Like that's just I'm not. I don't have a hot rod at home. I get all my Need for Speed on the weekends in my NASCAR race car, and um, yeah, I'm holding up the left lane sometimes. So I think the whole country needs to, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Pass in the left lane, get back over, leave
Mhm.
that left lane open for passing, and I'm guilty of it just like everybody else. I get over there and I get to daydreaming, and then realize there's a whole line of cars behind me.
Now, something that's been going on with sports lately that haven't been in the major spotlight. You've seen it with Formula One, now with tennis, golf, getting the Netflix treatment, and everyone has been talking about Drive to Survive with Formula One and how it's really expanded fan base and viewership for Formula One. Would you welcome something like that for NASCAR to bring more eyes to it and get more people to appreciate what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I, 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 I would, and I have. So we've done a bit of that. We kind of took our stab at it last year with the NASCAR group, and we didn't have quite honestly, we didn't have quite the success that we were looking for, like Drive to Survive, but we weren't on the platform of Netflix. Um, but we did. We told some of our stories that broadcast TV or even social media that we don't tell, that we don't you don't like to tell the boring parts of being a race car driver. You want to tell the exciting things. You want to tell the cool parts of traveling around LA and show off all these different places. We were just over at the Coliseum, coming over here to y'all's offices and doing this. Like we'll post that, but you don't always tell the whole story or what's going on behind the scenes in my mind as I'm thinking through practice tomorrow and how we have 3 practices. We're in group 2, so how's the track going to change? What's my approach to the track? How do I get ready to qualify? And we did some of that with a little series we did with a group of drivers. So um, I think we've learned from what we did last year, and moving forward, I think we're gonna take a little break, reset, and probably. I mean, this is we drive in circles, and everything in NASCAR it's a circle. It's a cycle of life. We'll come back around to it, and we'll attempt it again. Um, I think telling our story in a natural way is just like Drive to Survive. I'm a casual fan of F1, but I learned more from Drive to Survive than I ever did watching the race broadcasts at 4 in the morning whenever they're across the world somewhere.
Right. And I watched the show and now I'm waking up super early to,
Right.
yeah, I'm a Ferrari fan and all that. Like,
Oh,
yeah, it works.
I'm
So I
sorry.
loved yeah, last year was brutal, but
Yeah,
what are you going to do about
I
Verstappen?
know. He's an animal.
So, um, now something else that I noticed is when the great Ken Block passed away, you left a really touching tribute for him. And you were able to visit the Hoonigan crew and everything and hang out with them. If you could just touch up for a little bit on what that guy meant to, action sports, because I know racing and anyone who gets behind the wheel has an appreciation for, anyone who is as legendary as what he did.
Mhm.
If you can just touch up on, what he meant to action sports.
Yeah, that was wild timing. That I've just grown up just a fan of him and the Hoonigan brand and Ken Block, and I thought, I knew them as one thing, and so we came out to LA a few weeks ago, right before he passed, and was at Hoonigan, and I learned a lot. I learned that Hoonigan is a brand that partnered with Ken early on, but they weren't one and the same. They were there. Ken is a world-renowned precision driver in all forms of driving, and Hoonigan is a car enthusiast brand that just wants to build cars and build really cool cars and have great merch and just embrace that lifestyle. And so, talking with the group here locally was interesting, and I learned a lot about Ken. They talked about him, but they more about their brand. And then, unfortunately, we lost Ken, but it's just he's for my I mean I'm 30. He was older than me. For for me, and I think a lot of us, it was just you just knew Ken Block, and you knew every time you watched him drive, it was you're just in awe because he was willing to do things that were just unthinkable. Place his car in certain scenarios, all four tires spinning, backing over the edge of a dock, like one tire half off, just incredible. Um, Two tires off the side up a mountain, you know, just incredible stuff. And so, um, not something I ever really desire to do. I just have that appreciation for him, um, for what he did precision driving. And then the Hoonigan group is just they're just cool guys, and they build really cool hot rods and all kinds of vehicles. And seeing behind the scenes of that was neat.
Now, I also read, when you got started, you were what, 12 years old when you
Hmm.
first
Yeah.
got behind the wheel.
Yep.
How does that come to be? Because I know when I became 15 and a half and it was my time to get behind the car, my parents were still really a little worried about what I would be able to do at that age. How are you able to, at 12 years old, really start pushing into something where you actually made it a career and really thrive that way?
Yeah, I'll be honest. My first, couple trips down the highway were a little touch and go. I was a kid that had raced for since I was 12, and so I was aggressively driving on the racetrack. I was bumping people. I was, getting right next to them for restarts, and they were bumping me, and like we crashed. I mean, there's nobody in this building that's crashed as many cars as I have, the professional race car driver. So it's kind of funny, I think, in that aspect, but when for me getting on the highway, it did take a little bit of time to acclimate to the speed of a 2 lane road, and I had to learn those lessons. We all had to learn those lessons. It was some humbling conversations, right? Early on, if I've crashed race cars, I've crashed cars on the highway. It's part of life. I'm here to fortunate enough to be here to tell the story and try to now teach people and talk to people about driving safer and do some work across the country on that and using my experiences on the track, but also off of a bit of an advocate, maybe self-proclaimed of, all right, here's what I've learned, and I have this platform of driving really fast in NASCAR, but how can we all be safer when I get out of the race car and I have to drive home, or I have to get off the airplane when I land back in Charlotte, or get to the airport from the Coliseum Sunday night, like it can be just as dangerous to drive over to the airport than it could be to race in the Clash
Right.
Sunday night. So using all those experiences has been pretty rewarding to get to talk to people across the country.
Nice. So we're getting into the heat of things with the race coming up and all the preparation for it. What is your breakdown of how you prepare for this and going into it, and what kind of music do you listen to, or like do you have any kind of superstitions about what meals you have to have, or anything leading up into the days before the race?
Yeah, it's a full-time job now. So, when I back up and your hobby racing is just on the weekends and you work on the race car at night. And then I moved to Charlotte at 18 years old. That was over a decade ago, and we I just raced and I lived at the race shop and I worked on the race truck a little bit, but I quickly realized I should probably let the professionals handle the actually mechanicking on it at that level in the truck series, Xfinity, and in the Cup. And then as I evolved and I got better opportunities, when I got with the group I'm with now at Trackhouse, it was formerly Chip Ganassi Racing, and I got with a couple of driver coaches, one in particular, Josh Wise, and just changed my life. It's just he has a totally different approach to looking at racing. It's as much mental as it is physical. Look, I'm not going to run a 40-yard dash as quick as a football player will. I'm not going to cycle as fast as a cyclist will. I'm not going to bench press as much as most athletes that you would think of in stick and ball. But I need to be the best I can be to sit in a race car on Sunday afternoon and race for sometimes 4 hours. There's no bathroom breaks. There's no snack time. There's no break unless something happens in a caution. So being able to be as close to the best I can be at the end of the race as I was at the beginning, as close to 100 on both ends, is the ultimate goal. So we do cycle, we do run, we do work out, and there's a lot of mental side of it of studying both our competitors and ourselves to see how we can be better, but also looking at the positives of what we've done and looking at things we've done right and wrong in the past seasons and past races. It's a never-ending kind of hamster wheel of evolution of this sport and the way the cars drive and the setups and the way the drivers can be a bigger part. NASCAR wants the drivers to be the difference makers. So last year we unveiled the next gen car. It was a totally different race car than we've ever had. The biggest reset I think the sport has ever seen, where used to we manufactured the cars and designed them and built them ourselves as Trackhouse. Starting in 2022, we basically went on Amazon and ordered them. We had an online portal, we ordered the parts, and we assembled them. And we had to build the best box, the best race car, out of the same parts that all of our competitors had. Every team had the same chassis, suspension parts, and everything. And for us to be able to go perform the way we did last year was big. It was huge. But that doesn't mean we're going to be any better this year for it. So we have to keep pushing. There will be new teams that will come to the front. We have to try to keep pushing to stay, up towards the front like we were last year.
Nice. Now, you said last year you were out of here before the race even started. Are you going to stay in LA a little bit this time? Or are you going to check out any spots, get some dinner or anything, or all business?
Man, well, first of all, I want to race Sunday night for sure.
Yeah.
That is goal number one. Make the feature. It's not a good feeling when you're not in the race that you've prepared. This is our first race of the year, so
Right.
we've prepared for months for this. Where normally you're just week to week. Between now and the first week in November, we will race every week but two. One of the longest seasons in sports. So it was quite humbling to be headed home early last time, but this time we want to race Sunday night, and I've got a serious hankering for some pad thai for lunch today. So I think when we get out of here, before our next hit, we're gonna get some pad thai.
Nice.
Good, not much spice. So I'm like lower level spice. What are you?
Oh, spicy.
Oh,
Not the top, but like right below it where it's
I'm like not the bottom one above bottom.
Yeah, I know a couple spots. I'll let you know.
Okay.
No free ads though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ross, you'll be able to catch him Sunday because he will be in the race.
Right.
We're calling it right now, speaking it into existence. And yeah, Clash at the Coliseum. Ross, thank you so much for joining us, and check it out on Sunday.
All right. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.